As a gamer, when you hear the words Final Fantasy, what do you think of? Do you think of anime boys and their anime hair? Do you think of turn-based combat that's slow as Do you think of repetitive, random-ass encounters for the 20-
Hey you, what's up, man? Give me money, please.
20th time, we're just trying to go and buy some bread to heal up. Potions in the game. When you hear Final Fantasy, do you think of your mom? You think of your dad? I think of my parents when I think of Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is an old person's game. Final Fantasy's been around since I was in my underwear, since I was a little baby, since I was in my dad's balls. Final Fantasy is one of the oldest running games of all time, and I was someone who likes the GTAs, the Mafias, the shooty games, the steal cars, commit crimes, kill people kind of games. Fighting monsters aren't really people. You can't really commit murder on a monster. People want those dead. You know what I mean? Final Fantasy always put me off, and not for the vibes of the stories, the anime-esque characters. At that time in age, I was pretty much starting to understand and get into anime. I was into it, but I wasn't into Final Fantasy. And I think it was, as Nikki Jakey has said very famously, Goopy Goblin Gamer Brain. I think I had that because I didn't really give a about turn-based combat, waiting my turn to fight when it's like so slow and I gotta watch him take his turn and then hit me for 8 damage and then I gotta wait for my turn to do 12 damage. And then I know in the beginning it's going to be really easy and super simple, and then later on in the midway point it might get a little more complex where actually you have to start thinking, but I don't have to start thinking about the gameplay or combat until I'm about like 6 hours in. That's why I never got into Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy just seemed like not a waste of time, but an absolute waste of time. And I didn't want to do that. I just never was into Final Fantasy. My mother, on the other hand, is one of those many kids in the 90s who got a PS1 and loved Final Fantasy VII. It was those games that just blew and astonished everyone's mind at the time. And I understood where she was coming from. The 3D graphics, the models, the polygons, the story, the length of which the game went. It was something that you've never heard of or seen before in a video game. I can't even imagine the feeling of seeing these cinematic polygons for the first time, doing crazy ass summon moves and doing Hadouken. I couldn't imagine seeing those 3D polygons for the first time doing crazy ass summon moves and blowing shit up all over the screen on your PS1, and like that thing could barely run Crazy Taxi. How the is it gonna run anime boys with their big swords? Oh my god, it's doing it right now. God, he's on a motorcycle and he's swinging his big sword on a motorcycle. This is everything I've ever wanted. And those parts are pretty cool. I get it. And then, there's a casino where I can bet all my money, and then I can bitches at the casino. There's 3 bitches who love me. It's a lot to take in for Final Fantasy. It's a lot to take in for Final Fantasy. It's a lot to take in as a young little boy or girl at the time, you know? I never really got into it. I stayed away from it for years, but always hearing about it from my mother, about the greatest game of all time, and the story, and the characters, and what it represents, and what it is. I didn't understand it or really give a, but eventually, as growing up with my Goopy Goblin Gamer Brain, I was about 15, 16, when the trailers for Final Fantasy 15 came out. And I, being a boy who did not play 13 or 12 or 11 or 10 or 14, I didn't really know what was going on with Final Fantasy. I didn't really care. And then I see these commercials of this fucking boy band looking, Naked Brothers band looking leader guy, just being emo, riding around in his car, being a prince or whatever. And I'm like, whatever, who gives a shit? I didn't give a most other people in the Final Fantasy community were like, oh shit, 15's gonna rock, 15's gonna be amazing, 15's gonna be so cool, it's gonna be this open world Final Fantasy with all this stuff going on, it's gonna be GTA Final Fantasy, driving a car around wherever I want. And obviously it wasn't that, it was just Final Fantasy. Because a lot of other Final Fantasies have been open world, but in a different sense. It's not 3D, it's not fully voiced, it's not fully animalized with real animals just rocking around doing their own shit, you know? For me, I wasn't excited yet. It was just another Final Fantasy coming out. Cool, emo boys doing emo shit, that's dope, whatever. And then I keep seeing more trailers and commercials on the TV, and my God, they're getting bombastic. They're getting extraordinary, and this. Where's the turn-based combat? Oh my God, this is the whole foundation of Final Fantasy. Turn-based strategy games? What are we gonna do now that the forefront of turn-based games are no longer doing turn-based games?
I love nothing more than to be dragged out at every fucking conceivable opportunity so you can fucking current day us. Sorry, do you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fuck.
Action combat. No one gave a just, switched to, no one really cared. People kind of, no one really cared. Anyways, I cared. And my 15-year-old mind was blown. I was so ready for goddamn Final Fantasy 15 that I was dreaming about this game. I was looking forward to everything about this game because all I saw was there's no more turn-based combat. It's live fucking combat. 3, because I'm doing numbers for some reason, you're driving around with your boys in a car in an open world. Dope. 4, because now we're list is you fight monsters and you get money for it. You're a bounty hunter with the... This isn't plugged in. You're a bounty hunter with the boys and you're just... That's sick. That's amazing. I love that. I love that. I want that. I need that. That was me. So the game's still being worked on, and I remember the demo coming out, and I remember trying the demo for the first time. Really freaking hyped. And I remember running around with that white stupid dog thing. I don't really know. I know that like the demo was cool and all, not as good as 16. Like they're learning how to do demos again. That was just like a taste of kind of like a play test of what it's like in the new system and the new on the PS4 and like the fancy new graphics of the time, how it works. And I remember it's some weird dream state where you're fighting around in his town, in his like city. You're fighting around in the city or whatever, following some white dog, and I just know, and I was told it's like a prequel thing, but as replaying the game, it's supposed to take part in this one section where you're asleep. Really, I think, I don't know. The demo is weird. The demo is cool when I was 15. I don't give a fuck anymore. It's stupid. Like, who cares? It was cool for the time. I remember it capturing my mind and doing the survival bits of it and everything. But the demo got me adequate. The demo did its job. It got me freaking hyped. And so here I am waiting for 15. I'm super excited. It finally comes out and I get it somehow. I don't know if my dad bought it for me or my mom or if I stole it. I don't know. And, ooh, man. It was so good. And I was still so confused. So, if you don't know, Final Fantasy 15 is like one of those games that has like comic books and movies and like anime shows all like attached to it. To make one whole product. Not like Halo, where Halo is like a full game and then you could buy like the comic books to give you some more backstory or even some side story that doesn't really continue into Halo 2, but gives us some more background into the whole world itself. That's not what this does. There's like key fucking points in the game that are meant to be experienced outside of the game. Like, you gotta go read a fucking book after chapter like 3 to understand why chapter 4 you can fly now. I'm exaggerating, but that's how it feels like. Literally in chapter 1, when you go out to go get married and you're about to go leave, you find out on the radio that, oh man, the kingdom has been attacked and destroyed, I guess.
What is? Insomnia Falls. What?
There was an attack. The Imperial Army has taken the Crown City.
When the smoke about the Citadel had cleared, the king was found dead.
What? But the wedding!
Show you these weird out-of-place clips that have no sound. Like, all the sound is gone because of the copyright, I'm assuming? But it's their own movie from Final Fantasy. Like, why can't you just use, like, the clips with the sound? I guess because the way it's cut and you want it to be, like, fast to be like, look at all this cool shit, go watch the movie. Don't you want to see how like the kingdom fell? When it's like, I wasn't even there. It was like a cutscene of me being there for like 2 minutes saying like, I'm gonna go get married, Dad. And then it's like, I love you, Dad. And Dad's like, I miss you. And then you leave. And then you just on an adventure. And I was thinking about the adventure. Now here I am going back home thinking about, man, my kingdom, my kingdom, I don't want to watch a movie to care about the characters. You know, I should care about them through the context of the game. And those are just one of the many flaws of why this game did not capture many of its fans. The first thing that comes up is it's a Final Fantasy for first-timers and fans, and a lot of people dislike this game. They think it's possibly one of the worst Final Fantasies, not the worst, but one of the bottom tier ones to be made. And I agree wholeheartedly that these games are great, and 15 just missed the mark of greatness, of being one of the 7s and 10s and 6s and 9s, but it still has a little something. Okay, before I tell you why I think this game has some merit and is great in some aspects, let me share with you why the game sucks. Okay, so I know I'm trying to convince you to play this game, and before we do that, let me just tell you why it sucks. So, one, the fighting is all just hitting circle. That's your only form of attack, and Noctis kind of does his own little animations to kind of bounce around the battlefield, the most optimal and best way to fight. And I never switched using any other weapons besides a sword. Like there was you can use a big heavy sword to break appendages off of your enemies, but it's so slow and the damage is barely any better than the sword. I'd rather just use the sword and hit more times to do more damage. And same thing with like the daggers and the poles. Like I feel everything was just a worse version of the sword. I just used the sword the whole game, especially with the DLC sword that gave you the Ragnarok, which just basically boosts your attacks when you warp strike people. Makes the game very fun, but also kind of like breaks it because it's not how it was designed. All you do to fight is mash circle, press square to dodge, or maybe hold square to block a big attack. And it's not very engaging. It's very repetitive. Let's teleport upwards to recharge. Let's hop down and fight in the mix. And whenever you get hurt or you're down and you need to heal, time freezes, it stops everything, and you can just heal. So there is no sense of urgency of like, I could possibly lose. Even when your main character Noctis gets fully knocked down, as long as you have Phoenix Downs, they will give you a solid 10-15 seconds to open up your menu, pick up a Phoenix Down, and keep going. There is no like real penalty for being down by enemies besides the fact you have to spend some money to get more items, to use more items. That's really the only downside to the combat. There is no real weight to it. There's no real sense of danger. As long as you go out of your way to do some missions, maybe hunt some monsters, get some money, you will always have potions to do what you need to do, basically. So the combat isn't why I'm playing the game. Number two, biggest thing, the acting. It's not the story. The story too. The story is mid. It is major mid. I love the adventure, but I hate it because playing it freshly through the whole game, all the DLCs, I still had to look up things online to fully grasp why. And that's because this game is unfinished. I did not know that. This game is completely still very much unfinished, even after all these years with the complete edition, I mean the Royal Edition, with, you know, all the added weapons and dungeons and the episodes with the characters really filling in and fleshing them out, giving every character who like leaves your group for a second. There's like parts of the game where some characters leave or disappear, and these parts fill in the gaps and do answer some questions that were never answered in the main game, which is cool. It sucks that it took years to figure it out because they just didn't have time to develop them. But honestly, they're really dumb. Like, I hate them. They're so dumb. I love all the boys. I thought my neighbor was tapping for me to be quiet, but I think he's hanging something up. Anyways, there's something for all the boys, right? They all have their own little story. All the boys have one that kind of fleshes them out, and the story part where they're missing does give important context, but is it mid? Is it ever so mid? It's not, it's okay. The only real benefit I personally felt from the episodes was adding the ability to play as these characters, giving them whole new movesets, giving a whole new dynamic to the game, and then eventually adding the ability to play as Gladios and Prompto and all of them into the main game, which was definitely like something that should have been added when the game came out. Oh man, it made the game so much more fun and less repetitive. Number three, I hate watching books or movies to appreciate a game's story. and I really was excited for Kingsglaive, and I gave it an honest try. It's mid. It's mid as hell. It's alright. It's okay. It's not my favorite. It's alright. It's not a good movie. It's a part of this. I guess it's important to the story. The Lady Lunafreya steals the ring and how, like, his dad dies, but being crucial parts of the main game now missing into the movie, it feels like they're both very underdeveloped. The movie characters not really having any purpose. The movie is bad. The movie is bad. It's dumb. It fills in one little part of the chapter from the game, and I find it incredibly stupid. Is the movie any good? No. Should you watch it? No. Is there a cool Easter egg from the movie in the game? Yeah. Anyways, so those are my major complaints, is the combat, the story, and the needless tying of story to outside stories. But other than that, the game is great. I promise. It's really good. It's really fun. I'm not going to go into the whole story of Final Fantasy 15 or how it could be good or not, because I played it again. It's not. It's just mid. It's just like we're going places and we're doing things and we're not really getting real context for why. I know that I am the king's son and it's our duty. We are the chosen one to stop the Star Scourge from turning people into demons. We gotta go on this journey to marry Lunafreya to join the Empire. Oh no, the Empire betrayed us. We gotta find Lunafreya and then find all these. Oh, Lunafreya's telling me I gotta find all these gods and join up with them so I get the power to become king and fight the chosen, having to go and fight the Star Scourge and stop people from turning into demons. Basically learn you have to go and meet these gods to become strong enough to repel the Star Scourge. And then you slowly find out that this one guy named Arden, whatever, is like the Star Scourge incarnate. And the story really does try to make me sympathize and care for Arden, and I don't. And that's the thing. Arden is my favorite character in Final Fantasy 15. My amount for caring for him is at 20, okay? I don't care about Arden. I don't care about any of these characters or this world or this story or the world, like anything. I care about hunting monsters. Okay, that was it. I like the game. This game is only meant for two things: driving around with your boys and exploring the crazy, beautiful world of Eos and fighting fantastical monsters which you've never seen before. Monsters of all different types and sizes and variations. And then after having a long day of fighting monsters with your boys, you've been out for a day and a half, you're dirty, you're covered in soot, you fought countless battles, you go and find a little camper, or you actually find a camp spot and you just camp with the boys, and then all of you sit down around the campfire, you decide to make a meal, and it's cool seeing them all sit there as your level up's going up, because you get to visually see all of your characters get stronger and level up, and then you see them sit around the campfire and you can imagine the conversation they're having about the day, about the adventures that you had, the caves you explored, the monsters you fought. And that was the real sense of joy and adventure in 15 for me, was constantly just seeing the types of newer versions of Final Fantasy monsters coming to life and being able to walk around and breathe and eat on their own without having to only be a model in a fighting cutscene or in a fighting arena. It was much more than that. Seeing a lot of iconic monsters live and breathe in the world of Final Fantasy was such a unique feeling thing. And I never even played Final Fantasy before this, and I fell in love immediately. I constantly wanted to go to new places. I constantly wanted to go see new monsters, constantly wanting to go and explore every nook and cranny. Finding the Bolerva mines and going all the way down and realizing, oh, there's a giant samurai demon down here that's gonna wreck me. I gotta dip and come back when I'm level 50. That's exciting. I have something to work towards, something to look forward to. Like, what is down there if I can explore it now, but it's level 50? What could possibly be behind the samurai guy? And it's one of the tombs, and you realize not every tomb is going to be given to you. It's not part of the main story or game. The tombs are, some of the tombs are optional, and some of them you have to get after you beat the game. Or they really want you to explore and feel in this world. In the new version, they added boat mechanics, so now you can drive, you can like ride in a boat around Eos. Like there's no real reason to do it besides just exploring the beautiful world, which I appreciate immensely. But once you have that flying car, man, there's no reason. You could just fly everywhere. What are we doing? Like, and I remember that feeling when I learned that there was a tiny little airstrip in the top corner of the map, and you could just land there. And then there was this super stupid hard dungeon down there that was different from every other dungeon. It wasn't like a normal dungeon you go through and fight some monsters with the boys. You had to go through by yourself. You don't fight monsters. You do platforming. It sucks. This game isn't meant for platforming, but it's so cool that it's something so uniquely different and out there. And the item it gives you is insanely strong. A sense of companionship and brotherhood that you and your friends have. There's so much unique dialogue. The missions that you're doing, the side missions, the monster hunting missions, just exploring and pulling over, your friends are constantly talking, but it's never overwhelming like it is nowadays in modern games, where the main character and his friends won't shut up because they're afraid of any downtime in a video game. They need to constantly be filling you in with exposition or story or character moments. Here, I feel like they hit it perfectly. They're only talking about things that I'm doing, what we're currently doing, what is going on. Yeah, they do repeat things. Yeah, it's not perfect, but for me personally, I felt like they always wanted to say something that was appropriate to the situation, what we were constantly doing. And it's not perfect. It doesn't have dialogue for every possible scenario or mission, but they made me feel in the moment. Final Fantasy 15 is a terrible Final Fantasy game, but in my opinion, I don't think this is a great Final Fantasy game, but I do think this is I think it is one of the greatest relaxing open world monster hunting games I've ever played, where I really feel and believe the world of Eos, and I love the aesthetic of it, and the monsters constantly bring me back just to say, hey, what's up again, and let's go on a fun adventure. Is it engaging and nail-biting every second like other games? No. But is it something that I think you should give a chance if you're looking for a fantasy game to explore and have fun in? 100%.
We'll follow the truth wherever it takes us. Together. Come along for the ride.